Okay, this is a video on passing one argument with method call, and this video will help you prepare for the chapter 3.3 assignment. And so in an ideal situation would be that you run off a copy of the Passing One Argument video notes from Canvas. It's in day 4 of week 9. And then take notes as you watch this video. That would be the ideal thing. The video notes have a picture of the output of the Passing One Argument program that we're going to be going over. After the video, you could download the PassingOneArgument.java file and run the program in JGraphs to see how things work, play around with it, do different things with it. Alright, here we go. Here is a just a simple version that we're going to go over right now. We're going to go through this as the compiler would, so you can see what is happening, see what's happening with memory locations. And this, again, is very important. If you could write this down as far as the memory locations and so forth, I think it'll help for you to see what's going on. So this is, we've already covered method calls and setting up header methods. So as you can see, we have the main method that starts the program. We have a method call, and we have a method header and the method module. So this is what we've already learned, but now we're adding something to this, and that is going to be this argument inside the parentheses, where before the parentheses were empty. So as we go in the program here, the first thing that we go to in the main method is line 6, and this is a declaration and an assignment which causes the following to happen in the computer memory. So it sets up a memory location named num1 and assigns it a 6. As we go to line 8, we see that this is a method call. This is a method call. The only difference from what we did before is that it now has a number inside the parentheses. And this is called an argument. The number, or whatever is inside the parentheses, is called an argument. The argument gets passed to the called method. So the called method, the method that's being called is triple num, which is down here. And so this 5 is going to get passed to that argument. So think of it as if you were throwing something at somebody and they needed to catch it. You are passing something from one person to the next. Okay, so the other thing is that you can pass a number, or I should have said an int. You can pass a double or a decimal. You can pass a literal string, and you can also pass a variable, or the value of that variable. So you could have inside the parentheses, which we'll see in just a second, you can have a variable in there. Alright, so what happens is this method call, of course, invokes the method by using its name, and it wakes it up and it sets it into operation. So this invokes the method. It sets it into operation. That's important to realize that. Now so the compiler is going from line 4 to line 8, and then it skips lines to go to number 11 because of the method call. When line 11 is compiled, the first thing it does is it sees int a in here, which should remind you of a declaration. So you have the data type right here, and you have the name of the variable, which we're just keeping it really simple. It's the a is the name of the variable. And so well, what does that do then? Then it's going to set up a memory location in the computer memory, and it's going to name it A. Now this variable, this memory location here, is in a different area than the variables that are set up here, the memory locations here. So you could have a variable by the name of A up here in the main method and have one called A in the triple num method, and they would not conflict with each other because they're two totally different computer memory locations. Okay, so what happens is this 5, this argument, is passed to the called method. Okay, the argument is passed to the called method. Now, if you think about it, if you throw something to a person, they have to catch it. They have to be able to catch it. And so they need to have hands to catch it. Well, in the same way, a called method has to have something to catch what's being passed to them. And what that is a memory location, which we are experts at memory locations. And so here's the memory location that catches the pass. And the number, the value that was passed, is now going to be in the memory location of A. The thing I forgot to tell you is that when an argument gets passed, when it's received, it becomes a parameter. So this A is a parameter, while this 5 is an argument. So when an argument gets passed, it's received as a parameter. This we're going to call a parameter variable. It is the memory location that is set up by the parameter of a method call of a method header. All right, the next thing, so this is all taking place on line 11. So the compiler goes to 12 and then goes to 13. Now we have a declaration of a variable, and its name is num tripled. Okay, and so this variable A and this num tripled are variables that are called local variables to the triple num method. They're local to that. Num1 up here is local to the main method. So the num tripled is also assigned the calculation of 3 times A. Well, A here is, this is a call to the variable A to see what its value is, and it says, well, I'm 5. Alright, so this calls the variable, and then it gets a 5 from it, and so then it does the multiplication, and then it assigns num tripled to be 15. The next line down is a print statement, and so the A is called again, and then so it says 5. Tripled is a literal string, so it literally prints that, and then num tripled is called, and then the result is 15, and so that's what's going to print on the screen. We'll put the screen up there. Alright, so now we're going to look at one more example on here, and let's see what happens. Okay, so what's going to happen is, you notice the memory location is disappearing here. Somehow I gotta get my, so right here you'll notice that the memory location is gone, and of course its value and its name. So that when the method is done executing, then the parameter variable gets released. It also is called going out of scope. And so it's that memory location is no longer reserved. Alright, that's what happens at the end of a method. Okay, so now remember that after this method is done, it now is going to go back to its method call and go to the next line down. So after this is done, it returns to the landmark its method call, and then it goes to the next line down. That's important to know that. So this next one is also a method call. It's calling the same method. So this is going to go over here, and it's going to call this and wake this back up again because it was sleeping just for a second. So now the thing to notice here is that now the argument is a variable. So what we're passing is the value of that variable. We're going to pass then a 6. Okay, we're passing a 6 because that's the value of num1. So you can pass a variable. And so this gets, so this goes down here, it wakes up, sets into operation this method. This method now is alive, and so what it does is it declares the variable int, or the a variable, and so it sets up that memory location and renames it, and then the parameter, the 6, gets passed, the argument gets passed to the parameter a, and it gets placed into the memory location, and then it goes to the next line down, and int triple, of course that's already been, that memory location stays, and so now it's 3 times a. Well, we call a, but a now is no longer 5. A, in fact, that variable memory location was released, and the new one says 6, and so 3 times 6 of course is 18. So the 15 in num tripled is replaced with an 18. And then we go to the next line down, which is 14, and so we print a is called again, and that's a 6, and then tripled is printed, and then num tripled is called again, and that's 18, and so you have 6 is tripled, 6 tripled is 18, and then that's what is printed, right? That's how that works. And now we're going to look at some other examples really quick. So we're going to go down here and see, and if you were able to make the video notes, it's all on one page. This has to unfortunately be on 2 slides. But here's the thing that I just need you to look at and notice, is that we passed an int, and then we passed a variable that was an int. And you'll notice as we go to the next slide that the variable, or the method that was called, received it with a variable that is an int. And that's important, because you're going to notice something, that we called a method called triple num. We are going to call another method that's also called triple num. Well, how come they don't get confused? Well, the difference is that now the parameter is a double instead of an int, and so it's set to receive a double. And so as you go to line 12, you see that now the argument is a decimal, it's a double. So you can also pass a double like we're passing, or you can pass a variable that's a double. So maybe num2 is 7.6. You could have num2 in here instead of 4.5. But the critical issue here is that it's going to look at triple num first because of the name, and then it's going to look at this and say int a and go, no, I'm passing a double, this isn't going to work. And so it goes down here and looks at this variable or this method and sees that's the same name, and it says it receives doubles and go, okay, then I can pass it to here. Alright, the other thing is that you go down to 15 is you can also pass literal strings. So here's a literal string. Now what is the critical issue here? You've got to have quotation marks, because that's what a literal string has. So it's literally passing Kathy Fritzberger. Okay, now you could instead you could have the name of a variable that holds a string, and that would be do the same thing, only then you would not need the quotation marks, because you don't put quotation marks around variable names. But notice also the difference here. We are going to a method called student of the year, and so we go over here and the compiler finds on line 34 student of the year. But notice the critical issue. The parameter, the thing that receives the pass, is set up to receive a string. It will not receive an int, it won't receive a double, it'll only receive a string. And so A then in this case would be holding a string. And then it will go on and print a statement, and then the A is called, and it would be whatever her name was, Fritzberger. It's going to put the name in this place right here. Alright, so the thing to remember is that on your notes you have a picture of how the program, this program that we're going over, how it will print in JGrasp, and also you have a Java file that you can download and run in JGrasp and see how it actually works. And so now you should be prepared for assignment 3.3.